Welcome to the Birdhouse podcast, where we talk about how to build a business, how to become a better version of ourselves, while we strive to fly up to the higher skies. My name is Alexander Goalless, the CEO of the Birdhouse Agency, and I'm your host for this podcast. Welcome to the Birdhouse. Welcome to the Birdhouse podcast. Today with me I have Wynne. So, Steven, a week ago we met last, and today's topic is being courageous and bold and losing restraints. So, we talked about me. We just talked about me and my family situation and everyday life, and where some of the things I need to cut off and be more courageous and bold. So, how have you been courageous and bold in your life and so on?
So, again, this is going to be getting into, I guess, some of my past experiences. And so how I live my life has never been being happy in the same place. I've always been a person that's been, okay, let's go do the next thing. Let's go be better. So I'm like, for my basketball, I was not afraid I was on an inner city team in Topeka. And eventually I had to leave that team because I reached my cap of what I was going to learn from that team. And so I had to go on to the next team, but saying bye to the players that I played for 3 years wasn't an easy thing. Some of them were salty at me for leaving. But that's just one decision that I had to make of going, okay, I got to go to try out for the next team that I'm doing because they have a higher standard of playing. Same thing with my jobs. High school, I got into IT just on my own. I was watching Linus Tech Tips, CIX. I was watching, or not NCIX, no NCIX, and some of the other channels out there. Just learning everything I could about technology, about how electronics are made, about Windows, about how computers work, hardware especially, and eventually. I convinced one of the guys from my church of saying, "Hey, am I able to get an internship with you for the summer? I'll do a free internship, work. I think it's like 12 hours, 15 hours a week, just learning what I can." And that translated into a full-time internship because I was bold in asking one of the teachers, who was one of the business teachers, if they had an internship program, and they were thinking about starting it a year or two down the road. And so I was the first student within that internship. So
Nice.
I got paid to go to school because I got credit. I got credit from my internship.
Mm.
Um, and at the end of that, I was talking with a different person from church and got a quote unquote career job out of high school, because I was still in high school at this point. Um, I got offered a $50,000 job out of high school with no continued education, no certifications, only with just talking to him at church. I went in for an interview and answered every single question that he asked, correct minus one, but it was a very specific, what is a file extension of a Microsoft Outlook backup file,
Okay.
which is, so PowerPoint is PTX, uh, Outlook backup is TTX,
Okay.
and that was the only one I got wrong. So I got that job, but at the same time, that job wasn't, as I said, it was a supposedly career job for me. It had upgrade options in the next couple of years, go into management, um, become an IT admin, so on and so forth. Um, and But what I learned in the first couple months of there wasn't enough work for me to stay busy. I was working about 10, 15 hours of like work at work. The other 25 hours, I was trying to figure out something to do. whether that was learn stuff, whether that was do busy work, and all of that. And I eventually figured out that that wasn't the spot for me. So I made a decision right as COVID hit to quit my job. And so over the COVID summer, I worked some for my dad, but I was also trying to do woodworking and all of that. That venture did not work out because of supply chain issues, and I wasn't able to get enough wood to make products and get them online and so on and so forth. Um, but that was not an easy decision to make because I was walking away from getting getting good money at my age. I was living on my own before that, moving back into my parents. That's a bold move right there. Um, and then and then an even bolder move is working for my ex's dad.
Oh, oh, wow. Okay.
So so the so during the whole the second job I had, I was dating a girl, and her dad was an entrepreneur spirit, and I'm a entrepreneur spirit. um and I was trying to convince him to get into a venture, and eventually he was going to go into it. And I went to my ex's graduation party because we were still pretty good friends. It's like we just left because there's just some we just didn't think that life would be together and so on and so forth, and we didn't want to lead each other on. So I went to
Oh,
her grad party, and her dad, as soon as I walked in the door, was like, "You're the person I was like thinking of. Do you want a job?"
okay.
So so I worked as an IT admin and systems implementer for him. And this is a so we were selling eBay stuff. So I knew not much about Amazon, eBay, Shopify, Square, so on and so forth, all the selling platforms. I learned pretty dang quick what they were, um, because um, because that's just what I had to do. That's how I got a job. That's how I figured out how to put together an inventory system. I figured out how to get third-party listing software so that you can manage inventory across eBay, Amazon, Shopify, anywhere else that you're selling,
Hmm.
Mercari, blah, 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 blah. And that was a bold move because I was a 19-year-old when I was hired for him. I was your age.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I brought that company from $0 to, I think they're right at $1 million sales whenever I was leaving. But the reason I left was I was getting underpaid, confiscated, whatever. I had one bonus for the whole time I worked there. It was $100 in a Lego, like a little Yoda Lego build.
Hmm.
That was the whole bonuses that I got there from bringing them from 0 to 1 million, and a $1 raise. I was getting paid less at that job than I was at my previous job. But they were like, hey, we want to bring you into the CIO, CTO of the company and all of that. But I wasn't getting paid like I was going to be that.
Oh,
And so that's a bold move to sign up for the program that we did and start my own business. That was a risk.
oh, yeah.
So about almost as soon as I completed the programs, I quit that job. I did IT consulting as well as doing marketing now. And then another just bold out of the blue thing I did was I decided I was like, okay, I'm just going to look on Indeed because I was running out of a little bit of funding myself. But granted, it was my fault because I wasn't marketing myself. Um, which that's another thing we need to talk about eventually is marketing yourself versus because some people are awful at marketing themselves, including myself.
Hmm.
Um, so I went, did my own, did marketing here, still doing it. But I was like, I went on Indeed and said, I see a insurance manager position. I know nothing about insurance. Screw it. I'm just gonna apply for it. It says like, okay, it makes about 80, 100 grand a year. And so I was like, okay. I said no previous experience needed. So I said, cool. And went in for the interview and figured out, I told you this earlier, if like I love the team that I'm working with now, this was this job.
Hmm.
Um, and this is probably the first group of people that I've talked to like that really understands what we're doing. Because what they're doing is the same thing in a different industry. Um, which is just, it was refreshing. As soon as I started talking to the guy I work with, his name's Chris, fantastic guy. Um, as soon as I started talking with him, I was like, it's refreshing to talk to somebody who's been doing similar things that I want to be doing for the last 20 years.
Hmm.
'Cause I've had business mentors in the past, but they haven't been people who understand what I'm doing. They're
Okay.
like, they're like, cool, I trust you, go do what you want to do. That has been quote unquote like I bring them in general business decisions, but I'm like very specific stuff. They're like, you're seem like you're on the right track. I like what you're doing. Keep doing it. Um, and so talking to him, and he had a bunch of different ideas for me, and it's been like something that's been like, okay, let's go and get this. Let's bring you from where you are to the next level with your own business, with this insurance, with really any venture that I'm doing. I could text him out of the blue and just say, hey, I have a idea for a venture. Do you want to do it with me? And he'd probably say yes.
Hmm.
So, and because we really connected just like that, it was like a match made in heaven. Um, and so that was a stupid, bold decision because I'm still paying rent back in Manhattan and I'm living in DC,
Oh
um,
wow. Yeah, okay.
which is a 2 hour commute if I wanted to commute every day. Um, and so that's just example with my work life, much less my personal life with ministry, with quitting sports, with all of that. So, sorry, long story short, like my life has been one bold decision after another and going against the crowd of not going to college, not going to finishing tech school, saying screw IT because I just didn't think that that was going to be for me long term. People saying I'm super smart in it, I shouldn't quit, which doesn't mean I'm not going to be like keeping up with it. It's just not going to be what my career is.
Fair. Well, I also think it's about realizing what you want to do, not just now,
Yeah,
but also in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think what you said about, was it Chris? Uh,
Chris, the guy I'm working with,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, which it sounded like for me like that was the person that you want to be in 5, 10 years maybe.
Yeah,
So
he's the person I want to be in the next 2 years,
yeah,
and then the next person I want to be after that is Gary Vee and Jason Capital and Grant and all that.
oh yeah, I'm on that
That's
path
my
as well.
5 year plan.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Oh, well, that's good. I'm looking forward to follow you along with that path. But I also think about, as you said, when the mentors, that the person where you found the person that is living the life that you want to do in the nearer future. He can give way more specific advice on what you need to do and you need to do next. Which I think there's a lot of great mentors out there, but I think always you don't always find the mentor that fits the ideal future that you want to have. So make some good they give some good advice, but not sometimes it's more way more general and not as much specific
Yeah,
as as we actually
it's
want it to be.
it's like when you listen to Gary Vee on YouTube versus listening to his podcast when business owners ask him very specific questions. When
Mm.
he's speaking to the general crowd, it's very much hustle. And when he's speaking to people individually, it's saying, hey, here's the specific strategy I would implement.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different ways of getting advice from people and from mentors, and also making sure that you find what type of mentor you want to have, and also and make sure that they are the person that you want to do, you want to be, for them to make the best advice of
Yeah.
and but actually, I'm glad you want to share that the story. That was great to listen to.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I guess the number one thing, as well as a takeaway from that, is just make a freaking decision. Um, when you're indecisive, you're not going anywhere.
yeah.
I understand that there's big life choices out there. Anytime that I've been indecisive, it's knocked me back 3, 6 months because I wasn't able to decide, okay, I want to do own my own business. Do I want to start doing IT? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? So as bold as my decisions were made, there were definitely gaps in there that were indecisive periods that it was like the last before we started this podcast, very indecisive on starting one.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to find somebody and I just was like, screw it. I'm going to reach out to you and say, hey, do you want to start a podcast?
Yeah. And as you can see, I want to. Um,
Yeah.
and the thing about this decision is, as you said so correctly, is indecision takes way more time to than to make a wrong decision. Um, and like as I talk with you, I spent my weekend in the Danish capital, Copenhagen, with some of my families, my mom and some of her sisters, one of her sisters and one of my cousins, and we were in the zoo with my other cousin's baby, and we wanted to find a place to eat, and we spent like half an hour just finding a place instead of just picking the first one that looked good and just taking what food they had. So I think indecision is really one of the biggest costs of time for people, and I also see that in my own life. Like right now, I'm in a lot of I have a lot of different directions I want to go, and I'm being quite indecisive about which direction I want to focus on, which is costing me a lot of time and energy, which is not good in the long term.
We can wrap it back to if you make a decision, it's being that aggressively patient through it.
Oh
And
yeah,
guess what? You can change your decision.
yeah,
It's not like there are some decisions that's like, okay, this is a permanent decision. But especially when you're like the direction of my life, guess what? You're moving. If you're not moving, then making a decision is a lot harder to turn. But if you're moving, it's a lot easier to correct a decision than it is to abrupt stop something, try to decide where to go, and then go the opposite direction. It's easier to make a loop than it is to stop, turn around, and then go.
oh yeah. Um, I think that's a great metaphor actually. Yeah, you can change the path unless you're moving already, and when you're driving a car.
Yeah.
uh, well, and some of the things you have to do when you have things to consider is also first of all make a list of all the things you have to consider, and
Mhm.
then put them into priority. Which are you okay with losing, and which is the most important for you to do, and so on. And I think that's still where I am in the process, because there's a lot, as I've talked to you, there's a lot of things I want to do, but I can do, I don't get it done because um, I spend so much time on way many things, going to one thing to the next thing to the third thing and so on. So it's taking a bunch of time. So just like you, I think I have to be more bold and more courageous and just try it out.
Yeah.
We only live once, so maybe,
Because especially right now, this is when you need to try it. You don't have a girlfriend, you
yeah,
don't have kids, you don't have a house payment you have to make, you're living with your parents. Um, you have a safety net behind you that this is the time that you have to mess around. This is
yeah,
the time that you can say, hey, I need a little bit help from parents. I need a little bit help from community. Um, like for me, it's like, okay, I've tried a bunch of different things. I think I finally figured out what I want to do.
Hmm?
which has been amazing. And granted, sometimes I'm just a lazy person, but that's a whole nother topic. um, because yeah, but just what I've learned is just make a decision. It's so much easier and so much less stressful because you're not wasting energy. Granted, now if you're saying, hey, if I'm going to the Americas versus staying in Denmark, that is a decision you need to take time on.
Yeah.
But if you're saying, hey, I can either start this venture or not start this venture, if you say, hey, the ROI over time is going to be greater on starting this venture, then go for it. If you're saying, hey, I want to stay on the safe path and be a little bit more comfortable, then stay on that.
Yeah.
And it's just definitely that putting let's see, I'm trying to think of, was it Warren? Was it, I'm trying to, Valentine? I don't remember who exactly said this, but they said, hey, make a list of every goal that you have.
Hmm.
Pick pick three of those
Yeah.
and go after that. And as soon as you complete one of those, add one of the other ones from the list.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
pick
Or make a
three.
new list at that point.
A quote that I came across this morning was from Jim Carrey that says, "If you have more than three goals, you're goalless." It's saying, hey, if you have, or you're trying to split your time among too many things, um, then you're not going to accomplish anything. And I've definitely done that as well. Of going, hey, I have been doing sports ministry, school, work, doing my own projects on my side, doing my own woodworking, working at the house. I had about 10 different things I was doing every day, and I wasn't able to fully invest into one of any of them.
Hmm.
Um, and so eventually what I figured out was by the end of high school was saying, hey, I need to drill down on this, this, and this to make my life fulfilling. And that's what I finally figured out. Because if you don't figure that out, then you're going to feel stuck. You're going to feel um, disappointed in yourself. What I've learned is
Hmm.
most of my depression is my disappointment in myself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
And
feel
so
feel that too. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh.
and so that's a just a huge thing of saying, hey, I'm okay with making a decision because it's going to make me feel less disappointed in myself. It's going to make me more motivated. I'm going to have something that I need to stick with, and if it doesn't work out, then oh well, I lost some time, I lost some money. I can go on this and all of that.
Yeah.
As Gary Vee says, he's made a million wrong decisions, but the decisions that he's made right have been drowned out those wrong decisions.
Oh yeah. I saw a good quote. I can't remember it, but it was along the lines with success comes from great judgment, and great judgment comes from bad judgment. So like meaning you have to make a bunch of bad decisions until you get good at making decisions, and then you get more success. Uh,
Made so many poor decisions of what to do with money and what to time and all of that.
yeah.
And there's a reason I'm here is because I'm also able to learn from surrounding people
Mm.
as well. You can learn just as much about looking at other people's decisions as making that wrong decision yourself.
Oh yeah. You can definitely learn a lot, and that's also the reason why you have mentors. Like essentially, you don't want to do mistakes that other people have done for you.
Mhm.
That's the whole reason for learning from other people is they've made a bunch of mistakes. You don't have to do them if you listen to that person. Of course, you also
Yeah,
have to fill it out to see if you some mistakes you kind of have to do like
yeah.
sometimes. Um,
Oh, definitely.
but I can't think of a good example of that. But sometimes you have to do it on your own, and
Yeah,
because you also need to question some of the advices you get. Uh,
yeah. I'm trying to think. There was a thing that just really popped in my head. I can't remember what it was, but A lot of it is, so I'm going to use sales as an example of going off the script versus staying on a script. Um, oh,
Mm,
here's a great one. We last week we were actually in the process of closing a deal, and my business partner, Chris, he didn't stay to the process, and he tried to jump a whole step because he was excited, and it seemed like the person was excited and scared off the prospect from it because he didn't go through, okay, we're building that relationship before even offering what we offer. We're going in, we're learning about the business, then we're selling.
mm.
And that's how I do my selling process. And he jumped from like in the middle of learning, starting to learn about the business, he jumped to straight selling. And he lost the deal because of it.
Oh yeah.
And that was just something that he's done this for years, but he's like, you have to stay to the process that we do because it works. It's building that relationship and not skipping the gun for that.
Also, like when many people that haven't tried selling try to sell a product instead of the solution. Like you need to understand what problem they have and what solution you can provide them with. And actually, selling is just providing a solution for some type of problem. Like for a car salesman, okay, I need to go to work every day so that I can earn money to to support my family. Okay, but here you go. This car is the car for you because you need to drive a long way, so you need to drive a lot of kilometers per liter and so on. And hey, this is I want to get a car that, which shows off I'm a bad boy that can get girls. Okay, go get the Lambo. Um, so there's different solutions for different problems, and the reason why you have to find out what about their situation first is so you can solve that problem.
Yeah. And it's just like for marketing, it's, hey, how do I get people's thing? How do I get my product out there? How
Mm,
do I get my brand out there? I'm selling insurance now. It's how do I protect myself when I hurt myself, when
mm,
I have a broken foot, when I sprain my pinky while on the playground, um, just different things like that. It's the exact same thing. It's filling that gap of saying, "Hey, what if?" or saying, "Hey, what do you need and how do you get there?"
yeah, yeah, and be the man with the plan. Like, okay, you want to. This is where you are. This is where you want to go. I know what to do. Send some money. Send some money. That sounds so cliche, but okay, I have a solution
Yeah,
for you. This is the amount it's going to cost, and that's it.
it's so true on that though.
Mhm. So, well, that's the whole thing about selling. You want to help people solve
Yeah.
problems, solve the problems that they have.
Yeah, and something with selling, what I've learned is everything life is a business and everything is life in selling.
Yeah.
If you're even going in like getting married, what what is the arrangement between you and your wife? Everything, if you get divorced, everything is a 50-50 split down the middle, whether that's money, whether that's property, you're deciding to become a full partner with that lady. And for me, it's like what I want to do is I want to sign what's called a prenup before marriage to say, hey, so that I protect your butt if I die, let's define what is yours and what is mine. And anything that is on the business side, let's say if I die, all of that gets transferred under an LLC so that that's a limited liability. So if something goes bankrupt, then you're not liable for the assets that's there.
Mm.
Um, and so let's put anything that's like business related under an LLC so that that somebody doesn't come after you when I die.
Yeah.
And that is hey, that is a legal protection for you. That's a business deal with your wife saying, hey, before we get married, let's protect your butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, or it's saying, hey, I agree to split my money with you. I agree to live in the same residence as you. Just different things like that. That is business right there. You're
Mm?
selling that you want to be with that person.
But also like you have to set up this relationship, like
Yeah,
who does what and so down and so on. Like well, if you're planning to spend a long time together, like who does the dishes, who makes the food on
yeah,
which days and so on, and that's also a business in the way that you have to set it up properly so that shit gets
yeah,
done, but you also have to have time together, have fun, and so on,
yep,
and can produce great results. And you can do that if your home is a mess, and or if your relationship is a mess. So it really is. I love
yeah.
that. I love that.
So it's just changing your mind on how you view anything because you're say, hey, if I'm viewing how to, you're selling yourself when you get into a relationship, you're selling yourself to your friends. Like even whenever your partner right here, anytime that I talk to you, it's I'm selling you what my personality is. You want to be around me. I have the positive energy. That is what I'm bringing to this podcast with that
Yeah.
knowledge, whatever it is. It's
Mm?
saying, hey, it's like, yes, you might have those loyal friends, but guess what? If you betray them, you go against the agreement that you guys had.
Yeah.
That,
The social contract. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. And also one of the things that you sell when you meet new friends and so on is like, if you spend time with me, I'm gonna help you have a good time. Well, hopefully,
yeah,
at least. Like, I'm gonna shoot some jokes, and hopefully, I will also give you some new knowledge.
yeah.
So,
So the ROI during there is happiness.
yeah, yeah, and having fun, getting some laughter. It's always fun with laughter.
Oh yeah,
Haha,
100%.
haha, haha.
Uh,
Well, well, that's enough laughter for today. I for this social agreement. I can't.
oh, I can do this all day.
Is that a test?
Don't smile.
Hmm. Well,
Got
uh,
him.
but I also think a lot about the mindset. Um, when talk about this, is like you can boil everything down to mindset, and
Mhm.
mindset is how you see things and how you think about things. Because uh, let's take something about an anxiety or something like that. If you're scared for a situation, there's no amount of anxiety that's going to change what's going to happen in that. And the thing is, anxiety is only going to make it worse because you are so afraid. So afraid. So, but then again, if you see it as a opportunity instead of like a terrible thing, you can really go out and have some fun and see like, okay, I was so fucking scared. It turned out greater than when I thought it could be. And damn,
Here's
I learned
here,
some new stuff. So that's kind of great.
the funniest. Okay, I just had a example pop into my mind from a couple years ago. So I figured out. So I'm a little bit of a Star Wars nerd, just a little bit. And so with the new trilogy that came out,
Ooh,
Force Awakens, super popular movie. Last Jedi, one of the most unpopular movies ever made in
yeah,
Star Wars franchise. I figured out I enjoyed it at first. I was a and people were like, "Why you're a super like a hard Star Wars fan? Why did you like it? It was an awful movie." I went in there not expecting any answer to be answered from the last movie, and that is why I enjoyed the movie. If there's somebody going in that's saying, "Hey, where did Rey come from? Who's Snoke?
hmm?
Kylo Ren, so on and so forth," like all those questions that came out of Force Awakens, what's going to happen with Finn, all of that. It's like, okay, if I go into the movie expecting it not to answer any of those questions, I enjoyed the movie. People who said, "Hey, I need to know who Snoke is," um, hated the movie.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you don't set expectations, you can't be disappointed.
Yeah. What I say is any solution, any situation I go into, as I hope solutions. I hope that something's going to go great,
Yeah,
but I expect the worst. And so for me, then I'm always have a positive result at the end.
yeah, exactly. Like if you set the expectation for the lowest thing, and it's actually up here, like this amount you're going to be happy about, because
Yeah,
okay, I thought it could go way worse. It didn't. I'm very glad for that. And that
yeah,
I think is so powerful actually. And I also think that's the reason why there's so many people that's negative. Um,
yeah. They
they
always have
said,
their expectations too high
yeah,
in
yeah,
perfection.
yeah, and like I've tried setting my expectations high and being disappointed. Like I don't want to do that every day. Like I can spend a lot of my time being sad and complaining, or I can spend my time having sad, being glad, happy, and having fun. With and I prefer to spend my energy having fun and being happy.
So
It's,
the fun is funner.
yeah, yeah. Well, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds cliche, but it really is. The fun is funnier. But I also think I saw a video. I can't remember where it was from, but he was questioned about what is the best advice you have gotten and worst advice you have gotten. And the best advice he got was, what if it could turn out better than you could imagine it to? Like, what if you could imagine it to be like this, but it actually turned out like this?
Yeah.
Um, and that's then again, it's so powerful. I really think it's so powerful because
Yeah.
you
You're
you
held
don't.
back by your own imagination.
Yeah, really. The thing is, you're only held back by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to work on yourself with the body and disciplining yourself and so on. But and that of course requires a lot of work. But it's the only thing that's gonna stop you. So
Right.
so
So yeah, I have to head out here, so we got to probably wrap it up.
yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, goal for this next week.
Sorry.
Goal for the next week.
Oh, yeah. Um, I just had to set my mind straight. Oh, well, um, actually, think I have to make a better decision on what I want to focus on.
You have to make a decision on your decisions.
Yeah, I know it sounds cheesy, but I think I have to like do the proper work of figuring out what I want to do for the future, the nearer future. So
Yeah,
that's definitely my goal.
Make a decision as well. Turn it into goals. Put timelines on it.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I want to have X amount by X or X amount by Y.
Yeah.
And guess what? Then that goal comes in, or that dream comes into a goal, something that you can attain.
Exactly. So what about you? What is your goal?
This test on Saturday, I missed it by one question this last week, which is frustrating.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we have a goal set in order.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Birdhouse Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, follow me on my Instagram at The Birdhouse Agency and share it to your friends and family or rate it on Apple Podcast or Anchor. My name is Alexander Goalless, and I will see you at the next episode.